Hello and welcome to Legends Cast, a podcast about the cards and the meta and the community of the Elder Scrolls Legends. I am one of your hosts, Mark, from outside of Pittsburgh, PA. And with me, I have my faithful and awesome, incredible co-host, Dead Broke Nerd. And today we have a slightly different episode. If you're listening, then you already know that we don't have the typical "this episode is sponsored by Team Rank Star" intro because, well, quite frankly, there has been a good bit of news, and not really great news when it comes to Elder Scrolls Legends. And neither me nor DBN has had, honestly, much to say about it yet, at least nothing public. So we wanted to take the opportunity. It seems sort of poetic that it's episode number 25, which is probably the closest that we've come to quote unquote milestone outside of episode 10, that it would be this episode that we'd be talking about this piece of news. DBN, why don't you tell them what the main focus of the show is today?
Okay. Yeah, so we're talking about the news that the Elder Scrolls Legends has been put into maintenance mode by Bethesda. So basically that means that the servers will still continue to exist, that you can still play games, you can still buy packs, you can still collect cards, your collection it does not change, but that they will be ceasing production of new content going forward outside of the Gauntlet events and the special monthly cards that they release based on the ranked ladders. So as of right now, and there's some thoughts as to how long this might even last, but right now you can still play the game. It's just that there won't be any new cards, with the exception of the Tamriel collection that they dropped for free to everybody for the first 3 days. I was kind of confused why it just wasn't free to everyone for all time, but whatever.
I didn't even realize they only gave that out for 3 days.
Yeah, it was well, at least that's what I saw, but for all I know, that's a back end thing and they just keep triggering it. So for all I know, maybe people are logging in and getting it now.
Yeah, that could be.
So, but yeah, so with the exception of those cards that they dropped, and it was like 10
16.
cards? 16? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's 10.
There's 6.
No.
There's 5, one for each color, and then one for neutral. So that's 6, and then there's one for each tricolor. So yeah, I think you're right.
10.
16. Yeah,
16 cards.
16
yeah.
cards. So 16 cards and pretty good ones, which you can also collect if you didn't get them for free. If you missed out on that, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you got premium versions of them too if you logged in to get them for free.
So there's that to play with, and then monthly cards as usual. So we're going to be talking about, at first, we're going to be talking about the announcement. You guys have probably heard all about it from other people, but we'll just talk about our thoughts on it. And then we will probably end up shifting towards our kind of experiences playing around with some of the new cards, and then we'll probably end with just sort of a overview on where we're at with the show and where that might end up. Really nothing set in stone, but we'll kind of briefly touch on that to close the show.
Yeah, we wanted to make some pretty declarative statements about what we're going to be doing next and if we were going to be doing something next. But honestly, there's just so much that's up in the air at this point. I have a couple of desires and things that I'd like to see happen, but ultimately, and we'll talk about this at the end, there just hasn't been. We're not terribly clear, but we'll address that. So this announcement, for those of you who maybe you listen to the show, you play this game occasionally. What does maintenance mode mean? Because it may honestly not even really sound like that big of a deal, but it is. It's an enormous deal. Maintenance mode for other games may mean that you can continue to play them, and it's not really a big deal. But with a card game without content and new content is, well, I don't want to use the word dead, because that's a dangerous word to use, because the game isn't technically dead. But for all intents and purposes, there has been a tremendous amount of people basically saying their goodbyes to TESL, And maybe they're not done playing TESL entirely, but the vast majority of content creators have basically sort of said a goodbye. So let me just tell you a little bit about my experience with the announcement. I had come home from work one evening, and it was like an afternoon actually, and I was like chilling with my wife and my kids, and had not gotten a lot of sleep the night before, and I'm trying to convince my wife that I need to buy this really expensive new microphone, and it wasn't going well. But I was like, well, maybe one day I'll convince her that I need to buy this really expensive new microphone. I think like she's starting to look at the dollar signs added up and be like, hey, you've made $100 in like 6 months, and you've spent thousands. So we really, just like between the room and equipment and all of like, like we gotta find a middle ground here. And granted, like the room that I built is an office for seminary work and for her teaching as well. So it's not just for the show, but still, I like to exaggerate. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take a nap because I didn't get much sleep last night because I was 2-month-old. And so I took a nap, and I woke up with a text from DBN with a link to a Reddit post, which I didn't even open up on my phone. I was like, oh, if DBN texted me this, then it's important enough. I can just go look it up on Reddit. So I looked it up on Reddit, and I saw the post from CVH announcing that we were in maintenance. So I went to sleep with the desire to buy an expensive microphone, and woke up without a game to necessarily podcast about. So it wasn't that wasn't the greatest experience in the world to have. I have really loved playing the Elder Scrolls Legends, and I'm still playing it. I've played it basically at least a couple of games every day since the announcement because I've been toying around with some of the new cards. I'm really discouraged by the decisions of Bethesda to shut down the game. I'm not going to pretend to know what was going on behind the scenes. I will say that I had a pretty significant amount of worry about the game, strictly from a fiscal standpoint. I'm not a business major. I don't own my own business. I'm not in video game creation or anything. But I was just doing some basic stuff in my head and saying, how are they actually making any money doing this? And I couldn't come up with, I thought maybe they were, maybe there's stuff I don't know about. But as I was looking at what seemed to be the glut of gold and gems and things that were on the majority of avid players' accounts, I couldn't imagine there was a ton of new players who were coming to the game. With the launch of the Oblivion of expansion, it seemed like their last-ditch attempt to get new players to the game. And then that Oblivion expansion was not very well received. The Reddit had been just probably the most, the most toxic it has been since I joined the Reddit. And so it had to have been just horribly, horribly discouraging to people who were creating the game or working on the game or developing the game. And I hadn't had the most positive things to say myself as one of the only voices over like an audio medium that's out there. I didn't have super, super positive things to say about the direction of the game or the direction that they chose to take. And so I wasn't surprised that this is where we came to. I just kind of thought that that's where we were going to be maybe this time next year or maybe like the summer of 2020. Like I saw it careening for a bad place, right? Like I saw it spiraling, but I was just kind of banking on the fact that I didn't know enough. And then when they announced the China server, I was like, oh, okay, well, like they invested enough in this game to launch this game in China. So maybe there is some future here that I didn't see. Maybe Bethesda is continuing to make investments. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but it is discouraging to know how wildly popular of an intellectual property this game has. And to see it out of the running before games like Gwent, before games like Eternal, before games like Shadowverse even, to see it it's not dead, but maintenance mode is as good as dead for a card game. Like at this point, like if the servers are open 3 months from now, I would personally like I feel like the servers are going to stay open as long as they're making enough money. As soon as keeping the servers open are costing Bethesda money, I'm not sure how much longer we can log in. Um, and so I think that like there's a great amount of discouragement for me on a personal level. Like I've invested a great deal in this community and have been really warmly welcomed into it and have loved being a part of it. It has been a great opportunity for me to reach out to people and invest in people. I've been able to like walk through some difficult things with people because of the show. I've been able to integrate kind of like who I am and what I believe and what I do into video gaming for the very first time ever. I've never had the opportunity to do that before. And I've been able to like incarnationally and organically live out what I believe about loving people and supporting people and being there for people and challenging people while also podcasting about a game that I've really enjoyed. So I was actually talking to my wife tonight. This is a long monologue. I'm gonna close it up here in a second, DBN, and you're up.
Oh, you're good. Take your time.
Um, I was talking with my wife tonight. One of the things that my wife and I do together, and this is just getting personal, but one of the things that my wife and I do together is like once every couple of weeks, we sit down and go through a series of like 6 or 8 questions that just sort of help us stay on the same page. Like, what are the things that made you happy this week? What are the things that are challenging? How can I help you this week? What can I do for you? What can I pray for you? Is there any unconfessed hurt or issue that we haven't talked about that we need to address? And what are your dreams? And so I was going through kind of like what my dreams are for the community and what my dreams are for the future of me as a content creator and online presence and all of those different things. And she's like, I am really surprised at how hard you have taken this. I am, I think what my wife expected was, the game's over. I'm going to find a new card game. Yeah, maybe in a year or so I'll pick up another podcast. But this community has meant a lot more to me in the short time that I've been a part of it. And the investment that I've been able to make in people's lives has meant significantly more to me than that. And honestly, just really from my point of view, like the way in which I have actively been praying and the way that I've watched those prayers be answered inside this community shows me that I'm in the place where I'm meant to be. And so there's been like, it's not just confusion on like how could this happen to a game that I love level? Like for me, it's been this deep, deep, very spiritual confusion of I believe that this is something that I am called to as an individual, that I in some ways have been placed in this position for a purpose and for a reason. And as that has been building and I've been able to invest in influence people for what I think has been good with a positive influence and a positive message, to have that shut down on a spiritual level has been very confusing to me. And honestly, like just really, really personally, I've never been this open about what I believe. But as I've just been praying for the past couple of like days, the last week since we got the announcement, that's all I've been praying about is like, what am I supposed to do now? Because I really feel like I need direction here. And so this has hit me on really a lot of different levels, and some of which neither I nor my family sort of expected it to hit me. So I've been sort of, I don't know, struggling is the right word. I think wrestling is a better word. I'm not saying that I've been struggling. I haven't been depressed. Like Elder Scrolls is a card game. I think it was a great card game, but there's going to be more card games. I don't really care about that. I'll always be invested in a card game, but there's some disappointment with the community thing and the feeling of calling. And so, I've been really wrestling with what am I to do next? And did I have a positive impact on this community? Like I think that I've had, was my investment worth it? Is this a sign for the future? All of those sorts of things, which I'm sure there's other content creators that are wrestling with similar questions. Maybe it's just at a different point or a different level. But, that's really where I've been with the whole thing. Disappointed, yes. A little upset, sure. Wee bit angry, sure. A little bit angry. Wish Elder Scrolls Legends was not in maintenance. Still playing, but not heavily. Like I'm not going to continue to invest a ton of time and energy in a game that just simply isn't going to get more attention or more cards. So I don't know. That's a long rambling of me. Like, I haven't really put all my thoughts together on it 100%. Like, I'm still wrestling with it, but that's kind of where my story and a little bit of where I've been over the past, how long has it been? A week? Is it last Tuesday?
Friday.
Oh, it was Friday.
Yeah, it feels like
5
forever.
days.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. I mean, I've gone through, I have prayed a tremendous amount about this in 5 days. And that with a 2-month-old, a 2-year-old, and I preached 4 back-to-back Saturday night and 3 back-to-back Sunday services this weekend. I had a tremendous amount going on. And even began sharing some of these things with my church family, and got like a tremendous amount of encouragement. Like, I'm not joking. Like, when I say that I've been wrestling with this, like, I went to a meeting with my senior pastor, like the guy who hired me 9.5 years ago. He's my spiritual father, a mentor. He's unbelievably smart, like just insanely brilliant, like can pick up a passage in Greek and just read it like that. This guy's wildly intelligent. And literally in my one-on-one meeting with him today, like 80% of that meeting was taken up with us talking about this. Like, that's what I was doing today. I met with my boss and my boss's boss today. And in both of those scenarios, the lion's share of our time has been, what is my purpose in this community? And should I take another step? Should I take a step back? What's next for me? Because this has been something deeply personal to me, deeply spiritual to me, to the point where the people who mentor me and invest in my life and who are my boss know about it and are actively praying for guidance for me. So like, it really is like, I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but it really has, like, the last 5 days have been a big deal to me, on like all of these different levels of things that are going on. So, yeah. And I know DBN, like, this has hit you in some similar ways, but a little bit differently. And you've been trying to put your thoughts together. You feel prepared to share some of that?
Well, some of it. I got to be honest, a lot of it's pretty... I've been really struggling to stay positive / even just diplomatic. I mean, I have all of these... I have this list in my head of all of the things that have rubbed me the wrong way about the way this went down, all the things leading up to it, some of the reactions from the community that I did and didn't like. And some of it's justified, some of it's not justified, some of it's emotional reactions. But, I posted on Twitter, basically saying, and this is true, I said, how I had tried to make a bunch of videos, not a bunch, I tried to make a video, on what I was thinking, and I made like 5 or 6 cuts, like recorded 5 or 6 different times, and every time I came out of it, I was like, this isn't right. And I deleted it and tried again, and eventually I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna make a video, because it's just gonna... The tough thing, honestly, about having an online persona for content creation or whatever is that you don't want to betray that by being... Sometimes, I mean, look, the bottom line is, whether we're, when I'm recording on YouTube, when I'm streaming on Twitch, it's not really me. I mean, it is, but everything's turned up a notch. Everything is,
sure.
You're acting. I mean, you're not reading a script, but I mean, you have your on-screen persona. For some people, that's way more drastic. Charmer has a very drastically different personality, from what I understand, on stream than in real life, and that's cool and fine. And some people are like that. I'm really me, but I try to channel the more positive and excited and, creative side of me. And that is none of what I've been feeling over the last 5 days. So sure. I just kind of decided that, if people want to hear what I have to say, they can talk to me in person or listen to the podcast, where I will do my best to be diplomatic. But I was, the weekend was rough. I mean, I was mostly just mad all the time, just always angry, because I've invested a lot of time and resources and, eschewed other opportunities to support this game and the community, and I love this game and this community, and I don't think I really understood how much I love this game really until it was gone. But I mean, it's like, wow, there's really not going to be any more content for this game that I've played since like beta, that's really frustrating. And I sit there and I count all the times, that there were missteps from Bethesda, and the developers, one or two, both of them, both Direwolf and Sparky Pants, and I think about all the times where the community was really toxic and probably turned a lot of people away. And I think about the times where the community, whether out of, pride or whatever, chased away content creators or chased away organizations that wanted to be involved, because that happened,
Sure.
And I just say, like, what did you guys expect? And not to sit on my high horse or anything, but it's like, you gotta, as a community, Elder Scrolls has these really high points and these really low points, and those low points for compared to any game were pretty damn low. And it's like, what do you expect? And then, you look at the things that Bethesda have done and the continued missteps, and you're like, what do you expect? And I just sit there and I think about all those things, and it just grates and grates and grates, and then I have to go do something else. Luckily I had a really good outlet. I basically spent all of Sunday out of the house. Saturday was very rough. I didn't, I had work Saturday night, and that helped, but Sunday I was able to go bouldering for a while and then go play Ultimate Frisbee and just kind of burn off a lot of pent up energy. And I don't know, like, I don't want to get into too much detail on these things rattling around in my head, but it's just, the way I put it on Twitter, I'm sad, I'm angry, and I'm resentful. And those, I expected those raw emotions to dull, and they haven't yet. So I'm trying to be very careful with what I say. And that's the thing too, right? The fact that I feel like I have to be careful bothers me. The fact that, here's the thing. I have a lot of instances, I'll say, throughout my time as a content creator playing Elder Scrolls Legends and other games, but Elder Scrolls Legends being by far and away my focus, where I kept my mouth shut about certain things that bothered me about the community, about Bethesda, about, the card design, balance, whatever, right? I kept my mouth shut for two reasons. One, because I didn't feel like adding negativity to the space was conducive to growing a game that I cared about. And two, and probably more importantly, because I felt that being, honest and forthright, even if it's in a respectful manner, about the state of things and being critical could hinder future possibilities of being able to work within the community, to be able to work with Bethesda or Sparky Pants. And I just shut up, and largely because I had that secondary idea of, I want to not lend negativity to the space. Like, I have these issues with these, decisions or, community members or people, but like, what does starting more crap gonna do to bring people into this community? And frankly, like I said before, I try to cultivate a very welcoming, friendly, and, positive persona, which isn't, I like to think I'm a nice guy, but I'm also a very I'm in real life willing to be critical of things.
Sure.
And so I felt like I just kept not saying anything because I wanted to cast the Master Series. My goal was to be at next year's QuakeCon,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just got back in line. I saluted and was a good soldier and walked the company line, because I feel like that was necessary. And frankly, from working with the Master Series, I kind of noticed some people who maybe could have been involved and maybe should have been involved that weren't involved. And I started thinking about why that might be and came up with the only conclusion, which is that they are publicly critical, not rude or disrespectful, but publicly critical. And that stuck up here in my head. I'm pointing to my head for our listeners.
Sure.
And I said, man, I really need to be careful. I mean, you guys, you should always be careful what you say on the internet. It doesn't go away, but hopefully you're a good enough person. You're not going to say something that can really, screw your life up. But when it comes to working with employers and stuff like that, you got to be careful. I don't want to, be seen as somebody that can't be trusted to work with a company. But the problem with that is then nobody who's in a position of influence is going to be willing to seriously put their foot down and hold people accountable. And if, I'm not saying I regret it, but I'm saying that now I'm sitting there towing that line thinking, what do I have to lose?
Sure, you ain't getting hired to be on the Elder Scrolls Legends team now.
Certainly not.
You ain't going to be cast in the Master Series this year.
What Master Series?
I know, right?
Yeah, you see my point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's what I've been wrestling. That's what I've been wrestling with is how, because and this is not to be critical of these people at all, because I get it, but I know a lot of people who have been doing the friendly farewells and the rounds of thanks and thanking Bethesda, thanking Sparky Pants, thanking everybody. And I'm like, I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. I'm not done with the game yet. I still love playing this game. I booted it up today and played and I was just going to cut a video. I was just like, man, I got to get a video done for YouTube. All right, let me just knock this out. And I sat and I played for like 3 or 4 hours and didn't end up getting the video done because I kept playing around with the new cards. So like, the game is still great.
I mean, the game is. I mean, they're obviously the same issues that I had stated in previous episodes about like we need a rotation and pushing for things like that. That's still evident, like in the game itself. But I mean, the mechanics, the cards, the artwork, like it's still great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a game that I love.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of people, including very, very much, including Bethesda, but people too, that reacted to the news with a sense of treated TESL like that elderly person with a terminal disease, and they pass and they say, at least they're not in pain anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And celebrated it. Right? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I'm mad. Like I'm pissed off. I'm not happy that TESL's woes are over. I'm like, why the hell didn't we get them in line? Instead of just it felt like there was a lot of the thing along the management direction where Bethesda started with one foot out the door already.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you make a competitive game. A competitive game. A game marketed and geared towards competitive players, and you don't set up a tournament scene. 1 foot out the door. You know? You make this huge push for you change the developer over to Sparky Pants. You say we want a whole new client, which a lot of people didn't. I mean, there were back end issues, I get, but a lot of people were like, new client? Do we need a new client? Right? We're gonna make a new client, and then we're gonna make 4 sets in a year. And then they didn't do a big marketing push. 1 foot out the door. And so I empathize. I'm not trying to be critical of the people that are like, hey, I was already moving away from TESL. TESL wasn't for me anymore. It was a different game than the one I fell in love with. And they were looking into new things, and maybe they were backing out of their involvement with TESL. And so when the news came, they weren't distraught. I'm not being critical of them. I really want to make that clear. I'm not mad at them. But the fact that so many people had that sentiment frustrates me, because it's a big indicator that the fact that there isn't more outrage means that, I mean, how much goodwill did they have to burn through? And
for people, because it's not a response of like, we loved this game so much. It's a response of like, we stopped caring about this a while ago and saw the writing on the wall, so we're not surprised.
Yeah, and I hate that that's the case,
Yeah.
And I hate that, like, I don't hate the people saying it, but I hate that they're saying it. I hate that they're saying it. And I hate that, like, we had all this time to iron out, difficulties. All the people said you need to have a competitive scene. Literally every other damn game company gets that. Every smaller game companies get it. There are so many smaller companies than Bethesda. And Bethesda's the one that has this big game with this huge IP, and they don't even they do one tournament a year? Come on. And
I think there's a certain amount of frustration with the fact that, like, I agree. Like, you kind of get the feeling that it was almost like someone came into a boardroom at some point and was like, listen, we have Fallout and we have Elder Scrolls and we have Doom, and let me give you a new idea. Let's make a card game. And everyone around the table was like, we're not into it. And they're like, no, listen, Hearthstone is so popular and it makes so much money. We need to get into the card game scene. We have this awesome IP. Let's make it successful. And they're like, not real sure. And they're like, well, you need to do it, and we're going to sell them on it. And then they were like, okay, you know what? Like, give it a shot. Like, you take like a desk and a computer, like in the basement. We'll give you like a stipend, and like just sure, like, hey, give it a shot, but like, and then like, hey, it's going really well, we need a tournament. And they're like, listen, we're just not really into it. Like, we're glad, we're happy, we love what you're doing, but listen, man, like, and the developer in my mind, his name's Pete, and they're like, Pete, like, we love what you're doing, dude. Like, you're doing a great job, but like, it's just not our direction. Like, we're not really into it. And Pete's like, we need a tournament. And like, everyone's saying we need a tournament. Let's do a tournament. It's going to be awesome. We're going to take down Hearthstone. And they're like, Pete, we've had this discussion. Isn't your seat in the basement, Pete? and like, Pete just keeps going back to the basement without a tournament. And you're right. It's like, it almost felt like that at some point, and this probably isn't the case, but it felt like Elder Scrolls was a project that they begrudgingly let somebody do.
Yes.
In hopes that one day it would fail so they could shut it down and didn't have to deal with Pete anymore.
Yep.
And now they don't have to deal with Pete. Pete's fired, so they send Pete home. And they're like, oh, finally. And I'm not saying that this is like how people actually feel. I'm sure there isn't people around Bethesda like relieved that Elder Scrolls Legends is shut down. But to a certain extent, it's like, I don't know, maybe they had like too many pans in the fire, or like too many other things weren't going well. They're too stressed out, didn't have enough time. I'm not sure what it was. but it has consistently, like, the lack of the tournament scene and the lack of communication about it has pretty consistently felt like we were like the stepchild. Like the ugly stepchild that really was never taken too seriously, because who could ever actually be successful in this area?
Right.
That's kind of how it felt, you know. And they had a great product and a great game, and I love Pete for what he put together. And I feel bad that Pete was in the basement all these years, you know.
Yeah. And you know, here's my other thing. One of my many things, but one of the ones I'm willing to talk about. I'm trying to phrase this nicely.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
You just tell me when I need to fill air, right?
Right. So here's where I'm at. Throughout the years in which Elder Scrolls has been around, I think back to when I first got involved, which was in the post-Morrowind, but right after the... I played the game for a long time before getting involved, right? Mm-hmm. And I hung out around rank 4 or 5 and never really bothered to get much higher. But I got involved in during the like right after that QuakeCon, and the first thing that I noticed was all the people that were mad about conscription Telvanni, right? And it took about 3-4 months of just unrelenting badgering. The community just pleading and begging and just anything that they could do, making posts, making memes, just everyone just begging for 3 to 4 months, please do something about conscription. To the point where the deck that I hit Legend with for the first time was not a good deck. It just wrecked Telvanni conscription. Right? And it took like 4 months. And they reduced its cost, or increased its cost by 1. They also nerfed Goblin Skulk. Rip Goblin Skulk.
Poor Goblin
so there's two things to unpack here. One, there was this just lethargy when it came to addressing issues raised by the community, with the exception of the Abomination Empire, which was right in the middle of the Master Series, so it was extremely high profile, right? Within the context of TESL being high profile. Mm-hmm. And then the second one being Invade, which was messing up their bottom line because people were ranting about it in the week or two after the set dropped, which is prime time for people to spend money on it. So they couldn't allow that to slide either. But in those, time between sets when the meta solves and people are looking at things and saying, hey, what's up with this? Just so slow to react. And then half the time people would bring up these concerns and say, hey, look, we have an issue with Tricolor, right? I mean, I gave up on the idea of Tricolor needing to be reworked. I was just like, it won't ever happen, so I just need to accept it, and instead realize that dual color control will never be a thing again unless it's paired with Rage, right?
And even then, it's worse than a tricolor control with Rage.
Sometimes. I mean, I think there's...
Okay. There was a warrior deck. I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm wrong.
But the point is, repeatedly, the community was told, we know better than you. We know better than you. We know what we need. We have our metrics. We've got this. We've got that. We have all this hidden information that you guys don't get to see. And at a certain point, I stopped believing that it existed. There was so little transparency involved in the process, right? Something that in the modern age of the internet, you have to understand. These big companies have to learn the public wants transparency because we live in a society that no one trusts corporations or governments to be truthful about things. Mm-hmm. No one trusts. And if they do, I don't know. the point is, I mean, there was very little communication when it comes to why things weren't happening in certain ways. And in the few situations when communication did come through, it would be, we have all these metrics that say we're right. It wasn't an explanation of why. It was, we have this, we're right, deal with it, it's not changing, right? And at a certain point, who the hell do you think is buying the cards? Who is basically, because you don't have a promotional plan, because marketing is nothing but next to nothing in the scheme of competing on the video game market. Who are the people that do like 90% of your promotion? It's the streamers and content creators. Basically, and in many ways, I feel almost used as a content creator, because I almost feel like it was always this idea of, well, the content creators will get people interested. Well, the content creators, they're our promotional tool, right? I mean, there's no effort to do anything else. And then a lot of us are kept in the dark or thrown under massive NDAs, right? The point is, the communication, even the line of communication to the people that are most important for keeping your game in the spotlight was not there at all. And then the idea that you're telling the people buying your game that they're going to do it their way, and that the consumers are wrong. What happened to the customer's always right? I mean, really, we're the ones playing and buying the damn game. You would think that would come through at a certain point. And if there's this overwhelming frustration with Tricolor's base mechanic, which drove a lot of people away, whether you agree or not, you would think they would start going to the drawing board and saying, how can we improve this without compromising what we want to do with it? If they really want Tricolor, why didn't they try experimenting with raising the deck limit? If 75 cards was too little because of how many cards were in the environment, which is the biggest complaint about Tricolor anyways, which is that there's very little competition for the slots, raise the deck limit or stop allowing dual color cards. So that way, there's a reason to play Sorcerer over Telvanni or Tribunal, which is named Sorcerer's Negation. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not necessarily even advocating for those things right now. I'm saying, where was the effort to say, we hear you guys and we want to compromise, we want to find a middle ground, we want to move in the direction of making everyone happy. And yeah, everyone will never be happy, right? That's not how it works. And there's a certain level of practicality where, eventually there's always going to be someone complaining, right? But the mentality of, we hear you and we want you, the people buying our game, to be happy with the product we put out. It felt in many ways like the design team throughout all of the history almost had like this ego of, well, we know what they want. Or I have this great idea and I like it, and so everyone else is going to have to like it.
Yeah, and I think there's there's a level in which some of that is solved through transparency, right?
Yeah.
To say like, hey, we have statistics. Here's what our statistics are showing. Like, this is, and statistics are skewed, right? So like, some statistics are good, but a lot of times statistics display what you want them to display.
Sure. Interpretation is a major aspect of,
and like the way that you gather stuff like that, like it, and depending on what your target audience is and all of that. But here, like, I always tell, this connects to like the rest of my life, right? I do marriage counseling, and one of the things that I do in marriage counseling is communication development. And I say to people all the time, people know what you say and do, they do not know what you think and feel, right? People know what you say and do, they don't know what you think and feel. Mm-hmm. And in so many cases, Bethesda said and did nothing. And so, and even when they did say and do stuff, in the last couple of years, that's been done through CVH. And I really like CVH. He's been on the show twice. I think he's a really cool dude. I've loved having conversations with him. I loved his stream when he was a streamer, all of that stuff. But even at that, it always felt like CVH's hands were tied behind his back.
100%.
And like, I sometimes got to feel like even the two times that he was on the show, that he may have gotten, like, the limited information he gave us, he may have gotten chewed out for when he showed up at the office after our show went out. Like, I always kind of got the feeling like he was it. Like the people who were pulling the strings behind there were not willing to be transparent, so he was incapable of it. So I'm not saying that it was on him. It seemed like everything that he did was. It seemed like they hired him to be the community manager, basically, so they had somebody to come up with gauntlet ideas and someone to be a scapegoat on Reddit. And I feel really bad for him.
Well, and hoping that his status as somebody very well liked in the community would give them a little bit of cover. You know?
Yeah, and it's just like, I know that like you can't really display, thoughts and feelings as a game company, but those thoughts and feelings were in the form of things like statistics and background information. And I know you can't display all information about the fiscal stuff that's going on with your game, and I get that, because you don't want, if it isn't going well, you don't want people to worry and freak out. But at the same time, like there was some like, hey, just so you know, we're working on conscription. We also have a dozen other things that we're working on right now. We realize this is a big priority to the community, but there's a couple big priorities that we're working on in the background right now that need to get taken care of before we can move on to Telvanni. But we hear what you're saying, and we want you to know that you are heard and that we have taken into account and we are planning on addressing it. Like,
well, we've got to know that like the way that it worked for CVH was basically, we are not announcing anything until it's done, which is a stupid ass way of managing a company. I mean, that's just idiotic. I'm sorry. That's let me rephrase that. It's antiquated. Okay? Because we've seen so many companies do this better in this modern era of gamers, especially in lifestyle games, expecting more frequent communication and receiving it from companies that understand the power of having gamers feel heard.
Sure, I mean,
Hearthstone struggled with that for like the first 4 years of its existence.
Oh, constant frustration with knowing nothing.
And I don't know if it's still bad now. I just know that when I played, it was really bad, where nobody knew anything and they didn't know if there would be a balance patch in a week, or 3 months. And so, I mean, I remember when Crystal Caverns came out and everybody was just like, do something. And it was like radio silence. That's a bad way to run things. In case anybody was uncertain, that's bad. Saying, we're working on it, guys. We hear you. We want to, give you updates on this. That's good. Do good, not bad. I mean, how...
so condescending.
How hard is it?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Like, I understand the desire to want to under-promise and over-deliver versus over-promise and under-deliver. And I saw games like Hearthstone that over-promised towards the beginning and under-delivered and really got burnt pretty bad for that. So I understand that, but I also do realize that when you refuse to communicate, you leave what's going on up to the interpretation of people without information. And so it's like you now have left us to interpret what is going on behind the scenes because you've given us no communication. And then it just leaves into just wild things that come out of that generally probably aren't even true, but this is the perception that people have. And so perception becomes reality for people. And that's more so true in our culture today than ever before, that perception is reality. And so if you don't communicate with people, you can't then also be mad at people about making assumptions that aren't true. Like there's a certain extent in which, like, I when I work with people, it's like, hey, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, you can't not talk to somebody and then be mad that they didn't know what you wanted. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, I talk about it with my own wife sometimes. It's like, she's upset with me over not emptying the dishwasher, and it's like, honey, like, if you do not tell me to empty the dishwasher, I don't know you want me to empty the dishwasher, therefore you can't be upset about me not emptying the dishwasher. Right. It's unfair. I'm not a mind reader. And in the same way, when you're working with a company like Bethesda or like another company who's developing a game and it's something that you're invested in, they can't be like, hey, we don't want to talk to you, and also, how dare you make assumptions about us, and don't be a toxic environment, and you need to be a healthier place. It's like, No, you can't. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't do both. Either you can communicate or you can allow people to make assumptions that aren't true and pollute your culture. It's one or the other, but you don't get both. You don't
Yeah.
get to not communicate and not have people pollute your culture. Those things are going to happen. So it's like it's kind of like, what did you expect in terms of the toxicity of the culture to go up if you've proven that you aren't willing to communicate in a way that's beneficial to the culture. So I don't know. I mean, we're belaboring this at this point, I think, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, and here's another issue I have. So we're gonna get on in this one. What's up with the 2 days before the expansion, or maybe it's 3, doesn't matter, before the announcement comes out saying we're done, it's over? What's up with the $20 promotional set? That's slimy.
That does suck.
That I almost bought it. You know why I almost bought it? I almost bought it because I was saying to myself, if I want to be that person who wants the game to keep going and I keep pushing that, a monetary investment, I mean, I
So
every year,
put my money where my mouth is.
right, every year when it gets to summertime, when it gets about June, July, I always log into Dota. I boot up Dota 2 and I buy that battle pass. I don't even play Dota that much. I usually only play in the summers around the international because a couple friends of mine will all get hyped up about the international and kind of tune back into what's going on in the meta and kind of re-enter that kind of community because we played for so many years. And we'll play some games together and we'll do a little bit of stuff. But I mean, I don't play Dota consistently. But I want Dota to continue to exist. And so if I'm just going to do that one small thing, that little tiny drop in the pond of paying, $20 for the battle pass at the international, I'm going to do it. Right? And I had that same mentality that Tuesday. I said, you know what? I see this set. I don't need any of the cards. I'm not likely to use the card back because this Echo of Akatosh one is dope. And I'm probably never going to switch that one out, right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, but you know what? I'm going to buy it because I want to contribute. And the only reason that I didn't buy it was because I was recording and I had a couple games where I stomped people and it wasn't very interesting. And I was like, all right, I need to record a good game because my opponent just rage quit and I can't post that. That's right. So I got behind and then was late to go coach. And I was running out the door and I didn't have time to, do the transaction, everything, and then by the time I kind of had time to sit back and play TESL again, the promotion was over. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the next one. But I always buy those promotions, right? And the fact that they did one of those 3 days before canceling the game is the sleaziest crap I've seen in a while. They knew. Nothing changed over those 3 days.
Sure.
I mean, if you run that promotion after the game, after the announcement, I'm good with that. Because the diehard players want to pick up the promotion, good, more power to them. I'm not even advocating that people stop buying packs. I mean, I wouldn't. But, I'm not even making that claim, right? I'm just saying, what is that? For real? That is some seriously shady stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had 2 guys in our community. One guy who was an avid player, one guy who was brand new. Both of them. Well, okay, I'm sorry. One of them bought the promotional. The other one bought it's the story mode, so it doesn't apply as much. But a couple of guys from our group bought the promotional a couple days beforehand, and now are moving on to new games. They got to play the Black Dragon a couple of times, and that will be it. That's the only time they'll really play with that card, and that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I play the crap out of Crown Quartermaster. I would have played that Crown Quartermaster all day, But I'm really glad that my opponent rage quit and roped me for 3 turns. Because if it wasn't for that, I'd be $20 shorter, and I'd be even madder.
Really mad. Yeah, even more upset. Well, how about this? Let's move on because we did want to move into something that's a little bit more positive.
Man, now I'm worked up though.
Yeah, I know. I got you all worked up. But I remember the conversations we had about about wanting to be diplomatic. So before we stray into not diplomatic, let's talk about
I think I've already overstepped that a bit.
there may have been one very mocking statement that was a little not diplomatic, but
Mm.
let's move on. So we had 16 new cards, a bunch of new tricolor cards. We got 10 new tricolor cards, one for each class, and actually they're really cool. Like the cards are
Yeah,
awesome,
they are.
which makes me really bummed out that we didn't get these. And I don't know if this was going to be like a small set or if this was like a small portion of the polished cards from the next set that was coming out. I mean, obviously, if that's the case, like they probably stopped working with Sparky Pants 3 months ago. We didn't know it, or 2 months ago, and we didn't know it, right? And we just hadn't heard, and this was all the further that Sparky Pants had gotten on this next set. But I have been toying around with one of them, and that is the Aldmeri one, which is like a 5-mana 3/5, I think. And when you deal damage to your opponent, you gain a mana for that turn. And that card's been awesome. I've been playing Goblin, mixed some goblins in Dominion mixed with markets. So Swindler's Market. So yeah, so you generate a bunch of curses and some of those forked bolts, I think, or whatever, the one that's 0 cost, deal 1 and 1. And then you drop this thing. And so, like, you know, if you have a couple of those in your hand with a market on the board, and then you drop this guy, it is not at all outrageous to play him for 5 and regain all 5 mana with like a couple of forked bolts and a curse, which has been a tremendous amount of fun. And I've really enjoyed it, and it's actually gone pretty well. I've only pulled off the combo a couple of times. I haven't had a tremendous amount of time to play because like a couple days after Legends made their announcement, Elder Scrolls Blades put out their biggest patch yet, that got rid of all the quest timers. And so I've been playing the crap out of some Blades, and I got Elder Scrolls Online. So like, I'm not done being an Elder Scrolls player. Like, I still love the IP. I'm not like so mad at Bethesda that I'm done spending money on their games. Like, I still am playing Elder Scrolls Online. I'm still thinking about giving them $15 a month for that stupid crafting bag. I'm still willing to throw a couple of bucks here and there at Elder Scrolls Blades because I still really like that game. I'll still play the freaking crap Elder Scrolls 6 whenever it comes out. Literally, when I find out Elder Scrolls 6 is coming out, I am taking a week off of work and not coming out of my basement except to eat and poop, and that's it.
Yeah,
I might just bring a bottle in here and pee. I'm not sure. You know, like I'm still playing the crap out of Elder Scrolls games. But I have been toying around the Dominion deck, really enjoyed the Dominion deck, and had a lot of fun with it. I will be toying around with some of the other cards that are in this set, but I'm not gonna be booting up a stream. I barely streamed, but I'm not booting up a stream to talk about it or play them. But on my own, on my iPad, until Runeterra comes out, I'm going to be messing around with it. The other thing that I did that, you know, as someone who's a completionist, the bonus side of the game getting put into maintenance, if there is one, is that now I don't have to be reserved with my gems or my gold, because I've always wanted to complete every card get every card in a card game. Always wanted to do that. So I have now completed everything but some epics and legendaries in the core set and a few legendaries in the Skyrim set. I have every card in the game other than that. There's probably a couple of promotionals from monthlies that I don't have as well. So I will play this game for sure until I finish that off, and get every card in the game. And then I will probably go back and revisit. I'm not going to delete Legends off my computer or off my tablet. I'll still go back and explore Legends and have fun with it and play around with it. And honestly, provided the fact that probably the vast majority of really competitive players are going to be gone, I'll probably be more successful. You know, at this point, it's going to be people downloading the game because they see it in the App Store when they search for Hearthstone and it comes up second or third and they don't know any better. So I'll go trash those people. But I haven't had a lot of time to experiment with any other cards. They're super cool. We're not going to review them because there's no point. But yeah, I've been playing the Dominion deck. You've been playing a couple of games of Legends too, you said. So what have you been playing?
Well, I think that, so I mean, this is part of where I'm going, but I'm still going to be making one TESL video a week for the YouTube. So just to keep playing the game I like, and, you know, hopefully people enjoy it. But so I was toying around with each of those cards, and I want to do like a deck on each of the cards that kind of showcases each of the cards. That should give me 16 videos right there. But I played around first with the Midnight Burial, which I still actually, Neon Greensleeves gave me a really cool idea, and I think he's going to shoot me a deck list for it, and I'm not going to spoil it because I think it's really cool, and I'm going to put it on the YouTube. But I was messing around with it.
Telvanni? Is that Telvanni?
No, it's purple. It's the purple card.
Okay.
Midnight Burial is the 1-cost purple action where what you do is you search your deck for a character and put a copy of it, not put it, but put a copy of it into the discard pile with +1/+1, and then it has Betray. So what I did was I made a last gasp alter Telvanni that also used Rimmon Purveyor and Reflective Automaton, so that I could manually put, with Midnight Burial, I could manually put Reflective Automatons in the grave, so that whenever I found a Rimmon Purveyor or a Alfiq Conjurer, I could play them, consume the Reflective Automaton for their effect. So what was really cool was that because I was consuming Reflective Automaton with Rimmon Purveyor, my altars, my Altar of Despairs, got way better because they're pulling things from the next tier up because everything's discounted. So...
Oh, that is cool. I didn't think about that.
So at one point, I double discounted things with 2 Rimmon Purveyors, and then I was like pulling like a 3-drop every time I put down an altar and used it for the first charge. And it was fun. It was really fun. I still have a lot of testing with it because it's just, I mean, really, it's not as good as standard. What it does is it uses altar better, but it's probably not as good as standard Telvanni because right now it's trying to use a lot of last gasps and stuff like that. And then because Midnight Burial has Betray, and then I'm also using, I put Barrelzar's Tinkering in it just for fun, and things like that, some Dark Rebirths and stuff. But I'm pretty sure you could just take an Alter Telvanni deck, put Purveyors in, put Alfiqs in, and put Reflective Automaton and Midnight Burial, and just switch out a couple things for those same cards, and it would be good. And then I also... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think it would be fun to play Scout and dump Iron Astronauts into your graveyard and then ramp to reanimate them with the reanimate card.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about reanimate. I mean, you can use it in Scout and do the same thing that I was doing in Telvanni, where you just kind of... I mean, you don't get Alfiq, which is one of the main things you would want to use with. That's the thing with Rimmon Purveyor. The idea was I wasn't including ramp, I wasn't putting Tree Minders and Thorn Hist Mages in, because Rimmon Purveyor with Automaton is effectively ramp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But the idea is that it synergizes better than ramp with Altar, because it accelerates your altars. You know. But it has a lot of refining to do. So, and I'm not really a control player in TESL, so I don't have a ton of hours on control. Really, I'm an aggro and mid range player with some combo here and there. But yeah. And then I also played with the Obstinate Goat, and I did some Animal Monk, and Obstinate Goat was pretty good. Animal Monk Animal Monk actually has enough animals that it's actually a tough choice at this point about what to include. So I was like, which ones do I want in here? And obviously, you want Elder Gleam, Matrons, and then you want the 7-drop Spriggan one, yeah. But now they've got the 4-drop 3/3 that gives all animals +2 at the start of the turn. I'm not convinced that card is amazing, but it's worth playing just for the synergy. And then you can run you run a Reflective Automaton in it because you run the Pack Leader, and Pack Leader gives your wolves +1/+1, so technically it'll buff the Automaton. But there's also a lack of 2-drops that you really want to run. There's a lot of mediocre 2-drops you can run in animals. So anyways, I was just messing with that. But the Goat was good. The Goat is basically draw a card in that build. The Goat basically says just play it, draw a card. With the exception of hitting the 7 or 8 non-animals. So I guess it's more like 10 non-animals, but yeah, so that was fun. The last thing I messed with, which actually was winning a lot of games, was Exalt Tribunal. I always liked Exalt Tribunal before, Didn't play it a lot recently, but I liked it. And now it has that 2-mana 3/3 with Exalt +3/+3. So on 5, it can be a 5/5 with Guard. But of course, it can't attack unless you have an Exalt creature.
Exalted. Mm-hmm.
But honestly, Exalt was killing it for me. And I didn't. I played like 3 games of that, won all of them, and didn't see Temple Patriarch. So it was really good. I mean, I think the power of having a lot of 2s and 3s that double as bigger stat lines, if you find them later in the game, can allow you to just play a pretty decent mid-range tribunal that actually has a soul. So
that isn't just
you got that one.
Yes, I get.
Took you a second.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some cards I'm interested. I think that the I don't know if it's any good, but there's the Telvanni one that is like a dude with a scythe.
That one I don't know what to do with.
Freaking sick looking. Oh my god!
But I think it's the weakest
so cool.
card.
Oh, it isn't good, but it's so cool looking.
Which I guess I'm glad that Telvanni didn't get a really strong Telvanni card.
That's actually true. It would be a bummer. Like, hey, it's in maintenance mode, and by the way,
here Telvanni gets a buff.
Yeah, Telvanni got a really good card. So
watch me eat my words. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be bad. Like, my thought is that card is ideal after an Ice Storm. Like, you Ice Storm will turn later, and then play this, and then like heal for 9, and it can go face. By the way, But
yeah, I don't. I just think it's cool. I just thought the artwork was really.
Cool. The artwork is sick. Yeah, no doubt.
And honestly, the Minion one, the artwork is really cool too, because the premium version of it, he has like lightning all over him.
Yeah.
Which looks absolutely sick. Obviously, I don't have the non-premium version, so I don't know how cool that artwork would be.
I'm pretty sure the goat doesn't do. I'm pretty sure the premium of the goat isn't actually premium.
Just shines like some of the other
ones.
No,
I don't even think it shines. Like, I was staring at it like I got really close and I was like, is this what's different here?
What?
Huh? I was just staring at it and I couldn't figure it out, but maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it like maybe it's bugged or something. I don't know.
We ain't gonna get an update to that for a while.
Probably not.
Your goat's gonna not be shiny. You're not gonna get a shiny goat.
I think I'm gonna start my YouTube videos, calling it Elder Scrolls Legends in Exile.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good name.
I think I'm just gonna start just being really pointed at the beginning of my videos.
That you are in exile.
Yeah, we're exiled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
stuff.
Stuff
to experiment with. There's some stuff to play with, and you can always work on completing your collection. And if you are someone who just randomly is listening to this podcast, and let's just say that Elder Scrolls Legends is the game that you play whenever you have a break at work or on your train ride, and you were never playing it real competitive. And quite honestly, you probably didn't even like it when new sets of cards came out, because that meant that you had to learn something new and collect something new. And if that's you, then Legends is still your game. It's still an awesome card game, and still you can keep playing it. If you're like us, maybe not so much. So let's talk a little bit about the direction of the show and what we're going to be doing next, because DBN, you've already said you're going to continue to be making like a weekly Legends video. Yeah. So at this point, this is not our Sayonara episode, but it is likely going to be our last episode heavily focused on Elder Scrolls Legends. You're not going to be seeing an episode, likely will not be seeing an episode come out from Legends Cast until the new year. I have a lot going on with my life, with my kids, with my work. I'm picking back up seminary courses. I have a tremendous amount that I just need to like turn my focus to. If I do launch into something new with the online community, it's actually going to be bigger than what I'm doing currently. And so that's going to need a little bit of time and focus. I'm going to need to hire a couple of people to help me out. So like there's a lot that's going to go on like in the background on that. DBN and I have talked. We enjoy working together. We would like to continue doing content together in some form. We're not 100% sure what that is or what that's going to look like. I am going to check out a couple of card games over the break. A pretty decent sized portion of the core of our community has swapped over to checking out Eternal in the interim until they kind of figure out what the next card game is going to be. But I think that DBN and I would like to do a couple of episodes in the new year, sort of focused on other card games in help those of you who are going to be. I think most people who are going to be migrating from TESL are still booting it up right now. But if you aren't sure where to migrate to, you got Eternal, you got Mythguard out there, you got Causa coming out, you have Legends of Runeterra that's going to be coming out, you have Gwent that's out there. You still have Hearthstone and MTG Arena, which we're not going to suggest or review because you can find plenty of content about that if you want to move to one of those two.
And we're also chronically complaining about those games, so
yeah. Like, I mean, I had many years in both of those games. I really loved both of those games, but I don't regret not playing them anymore either.
Yeah.
I'm not upset that I'm not playing them and I'm not returning to them. So we're gonna do some discussion about that. Me, from a real personal standpoint, I'm always gonna have a card game in my life. That game is going to be Elder Scrolls Legends for now, and when Legends of Runeterra hits open beta or closed beta in first quarter of 2020, that will be the card game that I will move to for probably the bulk of my time, unless in between here and there I fall in love with one of the other ones, which could happen. But I really enjoyed my beta test of Legends of Runeterra, and that is probably the game that I'm going to be playing the most. One other announcement regarding the show, other than, you don't look for episodes in the next several weeks, and look for us to record a couple of episodes early 2020 that are going to review and talk about other games that you might want to migrate to. We still have the Discord, and the Discord is going to stay intact. We're going to be adjusting channels and all sorts of stuff in the Discord. So if you're looking for a community of avid TESL players who are moving on to new games or sticking around with TESL for a while, we even have some people who've done the emulator and have started playing on the China server, join our Discord and just come and hang out with us. That's our community. I'm going to be doing some stuff there in the next month or so that will be a little bit more intentional. And then I'm going to be shutting down the Patreon. So thank you so much if you supported the show. I do not feel comfortable at all letting the Patreon charge people for a show that we're not doing, and for content that they, once we do start doing it again, for content that they may not be paying for or that they didn't want to invest in. So I'm going to be shutting down the Patreon after the release of the show. Thank you so much to all of our patrons who have supported us and thrown even $1 our way. We're deeply, deeply appreciative. If you have found value in this and you were a patron, or you wanted to become one and you weren't one, and you want to find some other way to say thank you for the content that we've put out there, reach out to us. We don't have any problem with you saying thank you. I just don't feel comfortable charging people for the content that we're not doing. So I'm going to be taking that down, and I hope that's not a shock to Ian, because I didn't tell him about that until right now.
No.
Yeah, okay, so he can expect that. Yeah. But honestly, if you love the content we've put out and you're appreciative of it, go subscribe to Ian's channel. Go, I don't know, whatever. Go donate to Ian's channel or something. Go help that out. Help out his cause. Obviously, Ian has had more investment. DBN has had more investment in financially in Elder Scrolls Legends than I ever have. And so I'm really, really encouraging people. The Patreon's not going to be up, but if you still want to support us and you want to see us make more content, go over to Ian's channel, support him by subscribing to him, and support him by donating to him over there. Please, please, please do that. Go and say thank you to him for being on the show and everything. But yeah, that's the announcements about the show, and I think that's what you can expect. Did I miss anything, man, or something that we should have added?
I can't really think of anything, to be honest, but just pitching in my 2 cents of thanks for everybody. I mean, not going to lie, when Mark messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to come on this show that I started 2 episodes ago? I was like, okay, cool. I didn't really expect me to be doing it weekly, or for it to have gotten to the point where we even had a Patreon. So that was really neat. So thank you to everybody who either contributed financially or just contributed by engaging in the community, because I think that's one of the things that has been this real blessing in disguise is that the community has really been a positive, friendly, and welcoming place, and one that, I mean, honestly, Mark and I didn't really have to to put much policing in place to allow for. Everyone just seemed to come in with the right mindset. And, I think anyone who didn't have that shared vision of a place where everybody can, be friendly and chat about things and share ideas and stuff, probably left. So it's been awesome. And I don't even get to read all of the comments on there, but the fact that there's so many people engaging in a really cool way, and all the people that said, we still want this community to mean something, even if the game is moving on, that was, surprising and just really kind of heartwarming too. So thanks to everybody involved in that.
Yeah, I had a meeting with some of the core players in our community on Sunday, and basically the response was, this isn't like, although this game is going somewhere, like, we aren't. This community has meant too much to us. This place has been too encouraging to us. This is a place where some of these folks are going every single day to find a source of encouragement and find a source of support and talk about something that they enjoy. People have shared their lives over our Discord in terms of, we've had people share about all sorts of things that I never expected people to open up about. So that's why the Discord is staying active and why we're going to continue to participate and invest in the community. I'm going to be starting kind of like a small group or a support group in the community, probably sometime over the Christmas break. Just an opportunity for people to get together and voice chat and just support one another and talk with one another and vent. That is going to be my goal. I do want to give a special thanks. I'm going to miss people, but I'm going to try not to. It's a special thanks to DBN for both being on the show twice and then joining us. I really deeply appreciate you, brother, and it's been an incredible opportunity to work with you, and I really appreciate it. To Endazoa, who's been on the show twice, a little Jamie, who's been on the show twice, Bradford Lee, who came on the show, for DT Blade, who was on the show, Elameo, who's been on the show, for Sophie Alois, who's been on the show, and has been awesome, for Kara Kanzul, who was on the show, and thank you for joining us, man. Thank you, Silverfuse, for coming on the show, Lasergician, for being willing to come on the show and being interviewed. I don't remember if I said CVH, but CVH, thank you so much for investing in us and coming on the show 2 times. Ian Bitts, thank you. You were one of the very first people who came on the show, and I could not believe that you were willing to come on my show, brother. I really appreciate it. And for Bugenovation, who came on the show early on as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to thank Beefquake, who messaged me out of nowhere and was just like, hey, I could start a Discord for you. Me and Beefquake have probably had very different stories, but have grown a really great brotherhood there. And so thank you so much. Jeff, thank you so much for being willing to step up and become an admin and help us make the Discord as successful as it has been. I want to add a thank you to Fenrock, who's recently came in and brought in this insanely cool bot that we never even got a chance to talk about on the show. Lord Remen, who has been on who has been in the Discord and was writing stuff about Arena. Really deeply appreciate you. I know there's been many people who've participated. I think the one person who either he wasn't a patron and wasn't on the show, the 2 people who've been really pivotal in the community. I don't want to miss anybody, but like Salty, Spitfire, Hakul, and Bones have been big parts of our community as well. And I'm sorry, like, if I didn't say your name, I'm really sorry if you feel like you've been a part of the community. I'm sure you have been. And I'm just like scrolling through and making sure I haven't missed people. Bear J has been a part of that and actually invested in buying me some cards at one point. Really appreciated that. For anyone who's ever sent me an email or request and just said, hey, we really love what you're doing and we really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much for doing that, because that's been so huge and encouraging to me. The hardest part about doing both my leadership podcast and my Hearthstone podcast in the past is I never got feedback from anybody ever. Never knew if anybody cared about it or listened to it. The thing that has kept me coming back to this in an insanely busy season of my life, by all other rights, I would have quit this so much longer ago, because I had a kid. In this season of like being in school, working on my master's, working full time, having a kid, going through infancy with them, building a downstairs room, like all of this stuff has come out of this community. I would never have done any of it. I would have quit 5 episodes in if this community wasn't around it. So thank you so much, guys, for even in the good times and the bad times with the show and when I was struggling through audio issues, and you've given me advice and there's been so much progress. Thank you so, so much. And once again, a final thanks, DBN, for coming and being my co-host and making this a weekly thing. I really deeply appreciate you, and I'm very thankful for you.
It's been an honor, man. I was really, kind of surprised that you invited me to be on full time. Normally when I run my mouth, people just start telling me to close it. So, it's been great. And I really do appreciate that. It's honestly been something that I didn't even know I wanted, because before I did a podcast, which was great with some great people, but it was like a monthly thing. And I don't even think I really knew what a weekly thing would feel like. And it's honestly been one of the primary ways that I've connected with the game, as my, the wear of streaming all the time has kind of gotten to me, and I backed down my streaming involvement. This became an awesome outlet to kind of think of, how I want to engage with the game. And so it's been awesome. And also just to the people in the community, don't feel like, especially don't feel like because I was mad about things on today's episode that I'm an angry person. I'm not. Feel free to message me about anything. And the other thing is, if you guys are, I made this announcement, I think, in the patron chat, but I meant to make it in the other chat, to be honest. But if anybody ever wants me to look at something in one of our Discord channels, you can feel free to tag me, and that way I'll get the little notification that, okay, somebody added me and I need to go and check it out and see what it is, because I'm always happy to, to look at something, if it's a deck list or, just something cool that happened that you wanted to share. And if you're secretly hoping that I'll see it, don't secretly hope, just at me, and I'll take a look at it, and it'll be fun. So yeah.
Well, I think that's going to just about wrap up episode 25. I have a closing thought, and my closing thought is this: that everything in life is seasonal. There's nothing that's permanent. Everything in your life is seasonal, including games, including community, friendships, children, jobs, your hair color. Everything in life is seasonal, and life gets much, much, much more rewarding whenever you embrace that and realize it. You roll with the changes, you see the seasons when they're coming, you embrace those changes in the seasons, and you don't spend all of your time reminiscing, stressing, or looking back on a season that was, but instead you choose to fully embrace, lean into, and enjoy the beauty of the season that you are in. Life is going to change. And for those of us who are playing Elder Scrolls Legends, it is a minor change in the grand scheme of the changes of life. But things are going to shift and change. Nothing is forever. Everything is seasonal. Embrace it. There is something beautiful about the time that you spent playing this game or being part of this community. And if you are going to move on, there is something beautiful waiting for you in that next season, in that next chapter. Even if that thing is painful, there is beauty in pain, because it develops us, it helps us to grow, it changes who we are, we become more resilient, more perseverant, and we tell a better story. So whatever new season that you are moving into, don't just hang on to this one as the glory days. Nobody likes to hang out with the person in their 40s who can't stop talking about high school. Move on. Embrace something new. There's something beautiful and new and incredible for you to engage with, and you were created to engage with this new thing, and there's something new for you to discover and explore. I'm exploring new things in Elder Scrolls Online. I'm exploring new things in new arenas of my life. And I love this season, and there's some elements that will continue, and there's some elements that will change me, and there's some elements that will end. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's a good thing, because everything in our life is seasonal. So please, 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 in your life, my closing thought is embrace that. If you don't walk away with much else, embrace the fact that everything in life is seasonal, and there's something beautiful that you can find in this next season. Okay, there, I'm off my soapbox. I preached this week, and I'm going to be preaching again. Okay, DBN, anything else to say before we go?
Well, because everything in life is seasonal, enjoy the holiday seasons, everyone. Happy holidays. Yes. to everybody, no matter what you're celebrating, I hope you guys have a good time with friends and family.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, y'all. Hope that you get connected with some great people. And if you don't have people to connect with, message us on Discord because we'd love to chat with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to do it for episode number 25 of Legends Cast. We'll see you guys with some new content of some type in 2020.